Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott Lakem. I'm the athletic director here at UP. Joined up on the stage by class of 2006 grads, Gus Little and Travis Vetters. We have an award-winning piece that was put together by our video team that goes into more detail on the Gus and Travis video that we will watch in a moment. First, a little bit about the depth of connections that run through this life event and the UP community. First, Gus, his wife Colleen Salisbury at the time, was a member of both of our national championship women's soccer teams. Gus's father, Jim, is an executive at Skanska Construction and played a significant role in the development of both the Beauchamp Rec Center and Lund Family Hall. The anesthesiologist in this story was Adam Kerr, a UP baseball teammate of Gus and Travis. Travis works in the football division for longtime UP partner Nike. He was nice enough to fly out overnight from the Pro Bowl in Orlando to join us tonight. And my favorite part of this is one of the nurses that Travis met during this procedure, Whitney Lilly, who is here tonight, is now Travis's fiance. As we get ready to cue the video, I will say that we talk a lot in college athletics about the brotherhood and sisterhood created in a locker room and the bond that exists between teammates. In this case, we'll talk about tonight, that bond saved a life. Let's walk this back a little bit to start. First, Travis, you start with where you were from, what high school you went to, and why you came to UP.
Is this on? It is on. I'm from west of Seattle, small town, Port Orchard, Washington. I actually signed really late to the University of Portland, probably about 2 weeks before school started. And I was part of one of, I think, 17 incoming freshman baseball players. So that's what intrigued me. I was a mechanical engineer there. And then I had a great opportunity to be one of the starting, it was a whole reloading year for the baseball program. So that's what brought me there. Ended up finishing up in the finance department. And then after that was able to play 4 years with the Dodgers after my 4 years at UP.
So I grew up just over the West Hills in Portland. I went to Westview High School in Beaverton. And I grew up actually going to the UP baseball camps with Terry Polaris and Joe Etzel. They were just great baseball camps. I grew up, I knew UP and the campus like the back of my hand. And even when I came to make that decision to where I wanted to go to college, it was, I had some other schools to maybe go play baseball, but I knew UP was the right place for me. I was the youngest of 3 kids, and my parents could watch, pretty much every game. And went to UP, I majored in finance and economics, and I still live locally in Lake Oswego, and I work for an investment management firm.
Travis, you talked about the two of you were part of a 17-person freshman class that was one of the biggest in UP baseball history. Talk about, first Gus, how that group of guys and the size of that group enhanced your college experience and created your bond with UP.
Yeah, it was a very unique experience because usually, a roster of 35 guys or so, 35 guys, you get 7 or 8 new guys a year. But this season, we had 17 guys. So like Travis said, it was a rebuilding year, and we all came in together. And with 17 new guys, we went through some very tough times. We had a lot of losses. We were playing schools like UW, Oregon State. At the time, it felt like we were playing against grown men, and we were, seniors in high school.
The first guy I faced had a beard, and I never hit off a pitcher who had a beard before.
And then the BYU players were even older, but yeah, it was we had a tough couple years to say the least. But we went through some really good times. We went through some really bad times. We fought a lot, we loved each other a lot, and those times just created special bonds. And at the time, you don't think about it. You're there to play baseball, you're there to get a great education, and like Travis was fortunate enough to play professional baseball in the Dodgers organization. But yeah, it was tough, but it was a very unique experience. At the time, you don't realize how long these bonds are formed that we made at UP.
Travis, can you talk about the close-knit nature of that group and that many guys?
Yeah, I feel very fortunate that, I mean, I've been to a bunch of like weddings and these guys, or bachelor parties or whatever, like meetings, and there's 30 of us from, like a 10-year span that we're all very close, or 6 to 10-year span, we're all very close. I got to spend, luckily, 4 years playing with the Dodgers, and I think I talked to maybe 1 or 2 of those guys still. But my closest friends are the guys from the University of Portland that we went through the ups and downs of being freshmen, playing against grown men, and then learning to become men ourselves. And yeah, we have a very unique group of individuals that we're willing to do whatever for.
Let's dig into the video a little bit. And first, Gus, describe the moment for you when you learned that Travis was the match.
Yeah, so at first I didn't want to tell anybody about my condition, what had happened, because this was my problem, and I didn't want to make my problem anybody else's problem. Travis and I and a couple other buddies, we went out to breakfast, and this was after I had been in the hospital for a couple weeks after I went into kidney failure. And I told everybody, or my buddies there, I told them what was going on, what had happened, and this is what needs to happen if I want to live. I can be on dialysis for a while, and the success of that over years isn't that great. Travis, he did his research. He went home. He didn't tell me right then that he wanted to be the guy to give me the kidney, but he went home. He did a bunch of research. He talked to other donors, other living kidney donors. I mean, I think the amount of research that you did was pretty incredible going into it. I mean, and he called me on the phone, and I'll never forget this. Travis is the type of guy that when he looks you in the eyes, you feel like anything is possible, anything. And when he called me, I mean, we weren't face to face when he told me that he wanted to be the guy, but he told me, and I could feel it through the phone, that like, this is going to be possible. This is a small bump in the road. We're going to get through this, and I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this with Travis because he had my back.
Travis, you talk in the video how you wanted it to be you. What was that moment like when you found out you were the match and were going to be the donor?
Well, just backtrack off that. As I'm going through this after Gus told us that he was sick, it was this weird moment that something came over me. Like, I didn't want to say, yes, I'm going to help you right now. I wanted to, like, if I said it, I wanted to mean it. So I wanted to go through, do my research. I waited to the very last moment to tell my parents because that was like, I knew that was going to be very tough, but I also knew what their answer was going to be. They've supported me my entire life, and they knew no matter what, they were going to be there for me. And through the process of learning about this, I didn't want to know what my outcome was. The only question was, what are the odds of me dying? And that was it. Other than that, it was all about Gus. Everything was about him, getting him better. So my process, once I figured it, like, it was just overwhelming, like, it's going to be me. And I know there's a bunch of other UP baseball guys that stepped up, non-baseball players as well. And I just called Gus and said, let's start the process. So the process was a long, getting blood work, going through. Gus had some complications during that kind of set it, that moved it. Luckily, my blood type that's the one thing that we did match on, so that kept me in the game longer. And so just being able to be that guy, or be able to do that and help Gus out, whatever it was, what an incredible experience. And I'm so fortunate that I was in the right health to do it, that I had the support of my family and the University of Portland community, which is huge for that.
Let's keep it going, Travis. So the surgery happens.
Yeah,
keep you rolling here.
Okay.
What was that moment like when you saw Gus after the surgery?
I don't remember that picture.
What was the moment like when you came to after the surgery?
So when I came to, I heard it. Everything went great. I actually got up, and within 24 hours of my surgery, I had already I've already been taking off all the cables and everything, and I was down visiting Gus in the ICU. And there was one of the nurses down there like, oh, I heard one of your friends donated to you. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. They're like, what are you doing down here? You shouldn't be here. I like somehow snuck my way down in the room. But I just wanted to hang out with Gus. And I was released on Wednesday. Surgery was Monday. Then I came back Thursday and Friday to hang out with Gus. Spent a couple hours there with him. So.
Gus, talk about your side of that when you saw Travis, or when you remember seeing Travis for the first time.
Well, yeah, like Adam said from the video, I couldn't even see Travis, and we were this close together. But yeah, the moment I think I first remember was I was in the ICU, which after surgery you're very immunosuppressed, taking a lot of pills, and not in too good a shape. The kidney was functioning well, but I was heavily medicated, and in the ICU. They try to keep all the germs away, try to keep everything, pretty safe. But I think I had Travis and like 5 other teammates in there. They weren't too happy with us. But I had things hooked up everywhere, and I could hardly get out of bed without help because I had things hooked up to me every place. But seeing Travis look as great as he did. He cleaned his room. He was up there. He was down in my room. It was amazing to me, knowing that Travis was so generous to give me a second chance at life. My biggest concern was I don't want this to set you back. You're doing this for me. You didn't have to do this. And seeing him and seeing the smile on his face across from me and saving my life was just the most beautiful thing in the world.
Travis, how has this event changed your life? You're so matter of fact about it always, but I know that there was probably a life moment there, and how has it strengthened your bond with Gus and his family?
This was probably one of the biggest, when I was telling Father Bill over there, that sounds kind of weird, but this is when I actually understood what love was. An actual friend, an actual teammate, to do something like the ultimate sacrifice. I knew what I was doing, and I have I like to play things off with a little bit of humor, but I understood what I was doing, and I understood the consequences if something happened. But eliminating fear in my life and understanding that if you want something, you go and you commit 100%. I know what 100% commitment is, and the great things that come out of it. And I believe karma is a big thing, and I believe, I always say big guns upstairs is looking out for you. And we joke now that Gus had to get sick and for me to get a wife. So I think it worked out pretty good for me. It's been an amazing experience. I think I'm more connected to the university than I've ever been. Gus and I were big advocates for the University of Portland P4 business program, where we do a lot of mentorship out there. Anything we can for the baseball program. One thing we didn't mention, the day after or day of the surgery, Coach Sperry was there and came to and hung out with us, and I think he brought me some magazines and just wanted to sit there and talk. And it was great to see the support, and that's one thing that what we can do and give back to the University of Portland by just whatever we can do for coming down here and talking, and love being an ambassador for this place.
Gus, you've become very involved with Donate Life Northwest since the surgery. Can you talk about what you're doing there in that process?
Yeah, so since the surgery, I knew I had to kind of pay it forward. Travis gave me this amazing gift, and I had to pay it forward. I started doing a bunch of research, and I just couldn't believe that there were 120,000 people waiting for a life-saving transplant, and I felt like I needed to do more. So in researching, I got involved with Donate Life Northwest. Started talking to the executive director there, and they asked me to be on their board of directors. And I recently became the vice chair of the board there. And since then, one of the most important things for me was education about living kidney donation. And over the last couple years, we've created a mentorship program not only for kidney recipients, but also for living kidney donation to try to help people who are interested in it get those answers that they need.
Travis, one piece that isn't in the video that you've talked about before is the support you received from Nike and your team there when you took an absence. Can you talk about the way your team stepped up during your absence and some of the things that happened?
Sure. So it was it was rather funny. I get an email. So I tell our, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I'm the match and the date is set, and so now I go to my leadership team and I sit them down and I say, this is what's happening, and the response from Nike was unbelievable. It's as expected from it was actually kind of sent me back to big company. At the time I was rather new and I felt kind of like just a pawn in the big machine out there, right? And I get an email from a VP, and I thought I was in trouble. I was like, who's this guy? Like, I'm asking around, like, oh, I don't know why he should be meeting with this guy. And ended up meeting with him. Aaron Heiser's his name. And he goes, just so you know, I heard about your story. Our VP in my category at the time brought it up in one of their leadership meetings, and he stopped the meeting right there. He goes, I want to meet this guy. Meeting's over, I want to meet this guy, connect me with this guy. So I meet Aaron, and he goes, just so you know, what we do, we build shoes and make T-shirts. What you're doing is saving a life, and that's bigger than Nike. So you have our unlimited support, whether you're there for, if you're off for 3 weeks or 6 months, your job's here, and your team has your back. And so just to know that, because I was willing to give up, it didn't matter if I had a job. I had a great job. I'm flying all over the world, meeting with athletes, and it was my dream job. And I was willing to give it up. Didn't matter to what Gus had. I was willing to make whatever sacrifice possible. So have Nike to step up like that, and my team to step up, and the amount of support, and we got some nice little product bags, so we were comfortable, which is nice. So not only our category, but through pro, all the categories stepped up, and it was great. So Colleen got some nice running gear, and I think we still got tags on things 3 years later. So they were great, and they continue to support anything. I know I'm in a new category now, and my story is shared throughout the campus, and Nike's been outstanding.
So Gus, you're not a slacker. So 3 years out, talk about your sort of resumption of physical activity, and make us all feel bad, and tell us some of the things you're doing now on the back end.
Hold on, real quick. Next month will be 36 months, which is unbelievable. So.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be able to get back even this healthy within a month. My mom didn't give me the go-ahead, but my nephrologist gave me the go-ahead when I had a private meeting with him after my appointment. I climbed Mount Hood a month after surgery. I'm fortunate enough to have access to a nice treadmill that took weight off my body while I trained, and I've done some ultra marathons. This guy's got an unbelievable motor, and I got it, and I feel great. I've climbed several mountains, running ultra marathons. I feel amazing. I've never imagined that I'd feel this good again.
One more question, and then if anyone has any questions in the audience. But the UP connections we talked about run very, very deep in this particular event. Can you guys talk about, each of you, the magnitude of that, and maybe an example or two we should know about? First, Travis? Okay, Gus. Travis is the modest one up here.
Well, when I got sick and I started telling my story and word got out that I was sick, a ton of people called me, and I can pretty much remember just about every single one of those text messages and every single one of those calls. It was probably a dozen or so teammates of those 17 incoming freshmen. Probably a dozen teammates called me and said, "Hey, whatever you need, tell me who to call, tell me what form to fill out. I'll be there, I'll do it." Colleen and a few of her teammates from the women's soccer team, some men's soccer players. The UP connections were everywhere. And even right when I got sick, I was hospitalized for a couple weeks, and in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., the 23-year-old nurse who was helping me, I don't know why we're even talking at that hour, but he was from UP. So just the whole time, the whole journey on dialysis and after surgery, I feel like the UP connection was huge. And through such a scary moment of my entire life, the scariest moment of my entire life, to have a UP connection just gave me so much familiarity and made me feel safe. It got, even chatting about our dorms, it's got me off, thinking about dialysis and all the surgeries and everything. It was just very warming.
And Gus, you mentioned earlier about paying it forward. Like, I love being able to come here and speak today. I love being able to be part of the mentorship program for the P4 program in the business school. It's kind of like you said, you got to pay it forward, and UP has given me so much. It gave me an opportunity for a great education. It allowed me to play 4 years and continue my athletic dream of playing professional baseball, giving me that opportunity. It's getting me connected with you all here, and it's definitely changed my life, meeting my teammates and being able to help Gus out. And it's been outstanding, and I'm looking forward to continuing it throughout the rest of my life.
Any questions in the audience? Jim?
Just the timing, it seemed like a lot of the pictures were University of Portland pictures, but you're working at Nike when it happened. What is the time that this happened?
Time of the surgery was 3 years ago, correct?
Yeah, I got sick in the summer of 2014, and the surgery was February of 2015.
And you were still at school at that time?
No, they both graduated in 2006.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike.
Donations, kidney donations, whatever donations. So if we've signed up for the donor program for the state of Oregon, our driver's license, if we've used the iPhone to sign up for the donor program, is there anything else we could do or should do?
I'm going to try to answer, maybe ask Whitney later. But yeah, the thing that you, the question was, is there, he on the driver's license, he has a D for, because he wants to be a donor. He wants to be a donor on his iPhone. Is there anything else he should do if he wants to be a kidney donor? The only other thing I would tell you that you should do is probably just talk about it with your spouse, talk about it with your friends and family. So if, something were to happen, an unfortunate event, they know they can pass that on to the doctors.
Yes, I just want to know, I have a stepfather that's going through kidney dialysis, and I don't know if he's in his 60s, late 60s, and how can I attend to him right now?
I didn't miss the last part.
The question was, having a relative who's going through kidney dialysis, as you did, Gus, what is the best way to support that family member and help them through that process?
For donation specifically?
Supporting them through the treatment.
Oh, yeah, it really, the things that Travis did for me were priceless. When I would go on dialysis for 5 hours, and I'd come home and I would have terrible nausea, and it was just a terrible experience. Travis just came, he brought movies, and we just hung out. For me, I just needed, being on dialysis was probably just the most, the loneliest time in my life, and just having Colleen and Travis there, just spending time with me, just someone to listen, just to talk about good old times. Really, because dialysis is a pretty lonely experience. Just having someone there that you can rely on and talk to, just so you don't feel like you're doing it all alone, for me.
To wrap up, and on behalf of Gus and Travis, we want to acknowledge and embarrass someone very quickly. Our Director of Video Services, James Vega, who was in the operating room and did the piece you saw today, has won some Northwest Emmy Awards working for us. This is James' last go-round with us. He's taken a job as a video director for the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. So, James, thanks for all your good work on this project and overall. With that, thank you to Gus and Travis for making the trip down. It's an incredible story, and thank you for all you've done for UP.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.